Hey, everybody. You're tuning into this week's episode of the Muzzle Blast podcast. My name is Jordan Walsh. I'm a Canadian boy hosting the Rifleman on Sportsman's channel in the United States, as well as Sportsman's channel up in Canada. And I'm proud to be working with the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association this year and bringing all of you content from around the world with muzzle loaders. Ethan, thanks so much for having me on. How's it going today, my friend?
It's going great. It's so good to have you on. We first met out the SHOT Show this spring, and I think, at least for me, that was one of the last times I was able to get out of the house and out of the state even. So it's really nice to connect with you here on the podcast and talk about muzzleloading.
No, and I just can't thank you enough for having me on here. It's an honor to be here. And like you said, yeah, I'm pretty sure SHOT Show was the last time I was out of the house too, which unfortunately, we were going to go over to Africa and do Cape Buffalo hunt and a lion hunt, all with Muzzleloader. Our brand new Best of the West Muzzleloaders with the old iron sights or with our Huskama scopes. But we didn't get to go there. This thing called COVID happened and it threw a wrench into everybody's life. And hey, we're just up here trying to make the best of it.
Yeah. Well, and are things going pretty okay up there in Canada? Or are you guys seeing some pretty bad outbreaks now like we're seeing down here?
You know what? I mean, we have a tenth of the population, you guys. That's no secret. So we're always going to have less cases. That's just, a fact. But we are noticing a little bit of an outbreak. Where I'm based here in Edmonton, Alberta, I actually checked yesterday, which in the beginning, I don't know, I'm sure everybody followed it to a T, and I was guilty of that as well. And now I try to stay away from it, honestly, but I did check yesterday and we had 135 confirmed cases here in the city of Edmonton, which is about 1 million people. So you look at it, it's really not that bad. Mm-hmm. However, compared to what we had, even a month ago, it's about triple. So yeah, we're having an outbreak, just like you guys, just less people, so less cases.
Well, we're happy that you're staying inside and you can come on the show and talk with us a little bit. I'd like to dive in because I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of TV, and I didn't really know about what you were doing until we met up there at the SHOT Show. So for some of our guests that might be in the same boat as me, how did you get started in all of this? I mean, you're rather young, aren't you?
I am. Just turned 26 a few months ago. I've been doing this now for 4 years. Been fortunate enough to work in the hunting industry, and it's kind of a long story. Like I could probably fill the whole hour podcast with how I got started in it. But the coal notes really is just determination. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. I was a hockey player, as most Canadian boys are. And I got too many concussions, so I couldn't play anymore, which kind of threw me for a loop when I was 18 and life just had different plans than I did. So I tried to make the best of it. And I ended up working in the media side of hockey. And by the time I was 20, I was actually working in professional hockey down in the United States, where you guys are at.
Yeah.
And that was great. But it kind of took the fun out of the game for me. It turned it into a job, and I didn't like that. So 21, I took a step back and I said, hey, my passions in life, number one, hockey, number two, hunting. I made a living off one. Maybe I can make a living off of number two. And I picked up the phone and I phoned our network up there at the time was Wild TV. And I phoned them every day for 11 days straight until their president, program director at the time, Helgi Amundsen, who's also shot one of the biggest whitetails ever shot in the world. Anybody listening, you should totally Google the Helgi Amundsen buck, 287-inch non-typical whitetail. And I bugged him, badgered him until he gave me an interview on Thursday, and the following Monday, he offered me a job doing sales.
Wow.
Then I turned that basically into, hey, I want to be on TV. I want to do a hunting show. I'm the guy. Let me do it. And I ran with it and got sponsors and built relationships, and I got a show. And now here we are.
Wow.
Year number 5, different show, different network. But we're growing, getting picked up in the United States here in 2020 on Sportsman's channel was fantastic. Big career move for me. Very happy. And that also resulted in us moving over to Sportsman's channel in Canada. And, like I said, very, very blessed and very happy to do what I do. And you know what? It's fun, but it is hard work, believe it or not. As you know, I mean, hey, you work in the hunting industry too, and everybody probably tells you have a dream job, and you do. But hey, we work our tail off.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I'd rather spend a lot more time out hunting than the reporting side of it, but that's just how it is.
No, for sure. And I mean, hey, this year I'm the same way. We've had to get creative. I mean, COVID, like I said, it kind of threw a wrench into us. We're supposed to go to Africa, New Zealand, a bunch of fun places that we go every year. But obviously that didn't happen. And, we've had to get creative. We did a wild hog hunt, which, I never would have done before, but we did it this year. Black bear hunt, which we do every year, but had to do, a lot more work and really make that episode one of our solid episodes. Usually it's kind of one of those average ones, just a bear hunt. But, this year we really don't know what we're going to get to do. So we have to make every episode like it's our last one, to be honest.
So it's kind of off topic, but a little, it's not on the outline, but what does hunting look like up in Canada? I mean, for you, you grew up playing hockey. Did you also grow up hunting when seasons came in? Did you kind of put down the hockey stick and pick up a rifle and get out into the woods? Or is that something you were drawn to later?
Absolutely. No, you know what? You hit the nail on the head, my friend. I always, that was my life, hockey and hunting. And when November rolled around, I put down the stick. I took some time away from the rink and picked up the rifle. Exactly. And headed out. And I think, most people can probably relate to this. Not everyone. And, I think it's fantastic. You see nowadays, maybe one of the benefits or pluses of social media and 2020, let's call it, is all these young people, they're actually kind of viewing hunting as a fun, enjoyable activity. Now, not everyone for sure, but more people, I think, than in years past are really looking at hunting as an enjoyable thing, as they should. And I think it's fantastic. So not everyone as much, and I'm only 26, but even for me, when I was younger, if your grandpa didn't hunt, if your dad didn't hunt, you didn't hunt, but not everyone as much more is like that. You're seeing a lot of new people get into hunting, at least up here. And I think you guys are probably the same down south, which is fantastic. But, for the most part, that older generation, your dad hunted, your grandfather hunted, your great grandfather hunted. And I was no different. I grew up in a family that hunted. And, when November rolled around, it was time to get out in the field and get serious.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that trend go on a lot right now. I mean, especially in the muzzleloading community, a lot of people think that it's all a bunch of old guys sitting out sweating, shooting single shots all the time. But there's a lot of younger people that are really getting into kind of outdoors and hunting in general, especially now because you can go out and do it by yourself or with a couple people.
Right.
But I think muzzleloading is seeing a big resurgence. And if you're listening to the show and you've heard episodes before, I talk about that a lot, but we really are. And even during this, a lot of people have spent their time building kits, building new rifles, getting gear around because they know that no matter what, they're going to be able to go out in the woods this fall in a blind or walking around, and hunt. That's kind of a constant that we're all focusing on right now.
Agreed. And hey, let's be honest and view both sides of that coin. A, it's great for the hunting industry. Mm-hmm. The more people out there, the merrier. But B, for guys like you or I, or, even my grandpa or my dad who are double my age and then some, they're probably not so excited. Us guys that work in the hunting industry, we're like, yeah, the more the merrier. Let's get it rolling. However, this fall, I'm a little worried about. I'm not going to lie, Ethan. It's, I think everyone and their dog is going to be out there. And, as great as it is, it might make it a little more difficult for us guys that have been hunting, for years and years and years with all these newcomers, which again, I want to reiterate, that's fantastic, but everyone is going to be out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to really create some unique and unique headaches, let's just call it, with a whole bunch of people roaming around. They're just going to fall into our hunting spots, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be par for the course for 2020, I think, at this rate.
Right? No, too funny.
So this year was different. You couldn't go to Africa, New Zealand like you were talking about, but you've gone around the world hunting previously in previous seasons.
That's right. Yep.
So what are some of your favorite locations and places to hunt? Me, a Midwestern boy, there's pretty much turkey and whitetail. That's all we've got available around me.
Right. I'm biased and I got to be honest. Some of the best hunting on the planet is up here in Canada. And we're very, very fortunate to have the game that we have. But to highlight, traveling around the world and whatnot, I love traveling. I love traveling as much as the next guy. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. This year, like everyone, it's killing me that I can't go, those amazing places. But I think there's no really right or wrong answer as to which one is my favorite. They're so different. You go to New Zealand and you do a stag hunt. I've done free range stag. I've done a state stag. I've done free range tar. And I'll say the tar was never on my list. I never really cared to shoot a tar, honestly. But, my guide over there calls me last year. He says, "Hey, Jordan, mate, why don't you come over here and shoot a tar, bring somebody to shoot a stag, and, we'll figure out the cost later. I'm like, well, don't threaten me with a good time. So I go over there, and you know what? That hunt, like I said, never on my list, never cared to do it. And I got to say, that hunt probably to date is my favorite hunt that I've ever done.
Really?
It's hard. Yeah. Yeah. The mountains over there, just like the Rockies here in North America, they're a little less, they're a little lower, but they're more steep. So the elevation and the hike up is equally as hard as it would be if you were to go to, Denver or Calgary and do a hike or a sheep hunt for that matter. But the nice added luxury is, as long as you want to, you can stay on the mountain, but if you want to, you can come down and head back to the 5-star lodge every single night. And we did that mostly. One night we did stay on the mountain, and then the next morning we were fortunate enough to get our tar, great tar. But I got to say, like, for me, that was actually my first mountain hunt. If you can believe it or not, and I'm addicted to it now. I want to go on more and more, but it was never on my list, and it turned out totally fantastic. If anyone wants to experience a very unique, very challenging, but incredibly rewarding hunt, the New Zealand bull tar is the way to go. And then I'm biased too. I love Africa. I just love Africa. But again, it's an entirely different experience. You're going over there and everything's, if you're going to South Africa, everything's behind a fence for the most part. 99.9% of everything is behind a fence. When I say behind a fence, it's not in a pen. It's right on, 34,000 or 44,000 acres. And it's challenging. I shot a lion last year. And you know what? That hunt was fantastic. We tracked it. We did it in the Kalahari Desert, 34,000 acres. And we tracked that thing 22 kilometers in plus 38. I kid you not, this was 14 months ago. I still have a sunburn. And I should have worn sunscreen, my fault. But I still have a sunburn on my neck from it. And you know what? Incredibly rewarding, incredibly great hunt. Africa, it's a 5-star lodge. You're getting treated like a celebrity over there all the time. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're there, all those guys. And I go with Horns Africa Safaris, and I encourage you. If you want to book a hunt, reach out. I also run a hunt booking agency, or reach out to Horns Africa Safaris. They're top notch, but I'll be honest, most of the operations over there are. Mm-hmm. And if you want the experience of a lifetime and to be treated, like a celebrity through and through, as well as, go over and literally harvest as many animals as you want, 1, 10, 20, 30. Seriously, Africa is the place for you.
That's neat. There's a large history of hunting in Africa, and it's neat to hear that they're keeping that going, but also kind of holding it to the standards of modern conservationists, keeping track of like you say, they're fenced in, but it's not like, it's not a cage. You're talking about 34,000 acres, and tracking it for 22 kilometers. That's the fence is kind of moot at that point, isn't it?
Totally. You hit the nail on the head, and some people are, love it. Some people hate it. And, most people are probably somewhere in the middle, like myself. But when you actually get over there and you realize, okay, we hunted for 7 days. We shot, between the group of 3 of us, I think we shot 32 animals, and we didn't see a fence once. You stay in the 34,000 acres, you sleep there, you live there. It's your home for 10 days, and you travel wherever you need to go to get your animal. And I kid you not, you don't ever see a fence. And you touched on it too. They do an amazing job of conservation over there. And, I'll pick on the lion just because I'm familiar with it incredibly. Because, before I went and shot a lion, I'll be honest, I want to do the African Big Five. But I needed to do a lot of research and not convince myself, like, I'll be the first guy to jump out and shoot a lion. But I needed to know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the common, misbeliefs is that all that money, shooting a lion, and because of COVID, it's going to be a lot cheaper next year, but, let's say shoot a lion. Well, and because of Cecil and the dentist, that definitely dropped the pricing too. Yeah. But let's say it's $20,000 US to go and shoot a, great lion, which you could book that hunt all day long for that price. And, a lot of that money actually goes towards the conservation of the animals. And I know that's an old cliche, and everybody's like, yeah, we've heard that before, but no, seriously. Part of it totally goes in the outfitter's pocket, as it should. He's got to feed his family. He's got to feed himself, and that's his job. However, they're employing, 12, 20, 30 people that without those dollars wouldn't have a job. They would just be who knows where. They wouldn't even have a job. And furthermore, you take about 20%, I would say, of that 20,000, so call it $4,000. And that goes into the A, purchasing of the lion, and B, feeding of the other lions. These lions come from farms. It is what it is. They're farmed until they're about 8 or 9 years old, and then they're released. And when they hit 10, they get harvested. And that financial injection is what keeps it going. Think of it this way. If an American or a Canadian farmer didn't get paid to grow crops or to raise cattle, they wouldn't do them. As soon as you deem an animal as valueless, there's no need to invest in them. There's no need to, grow them. There's no need to have them. Yeah. So if we don't spend these dollars and go and shoot lions and elephants and Cape buffaloes a lot, but lions, elephants, rhinos, if nobody's going harvesting those animals, there's no value to them. Why would a farmer raise a cow and for no profit? They just wouldn't. And lions are no different.
Yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to sustain those areas naturally, just as populations grow and, you get more and more of that wild area becomes developed, even in Africa. I imagine it becomes kind of a difficult process, and you have to look at keeping it going however you can.
Absolutely. And, another thing is the poaching over there, even in South Africa. And South Africa is pretty westernized. Like, you land in Johannesburg, which, believe it or not, is actually per capita the murder capital of the world. Wow. So you land there. Yeah. And you land there and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I going? And literally, we went to a mall there. We went to a couple Hunting stores there. You would have thought you were, at the Mall of America in Minnesota. It is no different than what we have here. But, like in Minneapolis, if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. Yeah. And Africa's just the same way. So, you get out into some of those, and to touch on the modernization parts, once you get out of those cities, it's not very modernized at all. They live in huts. They live in, little shelters that are 300 square feet, and 4 people will live in there. But what I will say is the cell phone service is fantastic, like way better cell service than you're going to have down in Arkansas or some of those, southern United States. Fantastic cell service. You'd be in the middle of nowhere and you'll have full bar service. And the reason is because, each one of those little towns with those huts and those people, there might be 100,000 of those huts and 4 people living there. Well, that's 500,000 people. So all those phone companies over there, like Vodafone and whatnot, will just throw up a tower to service, 2 or 3 of those little spots. So it's fantastic. Oh, and hey, every one of those little huts, the 4 people that live in there, each have an iPhone. They each have an iPad, and I guarantee you there's a 52-inch plasma screen TV in every single one of those houses.
That's crazy.
Right? It blew my mind. But to come back to it, it is getting harder. And, I wanted to touch on this year, the poaching, even in South Africa. It's through the roof. There's no hunters over there. We can't get there. Right. So there's no outfitters out there. So the poachers are having a heyday. No one's patrolling. No one's seeing them. No one's doing anything. And the poaching in South Africa now is something that I truly don't think is reported on enough. CNN should really run a news story on that. Give Trump a break for a day and run a news story on that, because it is insane the amount of poaching going on over there because there's no one else out there. Yeah. So it's so unfortunate, but it just really goes to show how important hunting is in Africa.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that insight. Like I said, I mean, the chances of me getting to Africa just in general are slim to none. So it's neat to hear about it. So what made you choose the muzzleloader for this season? In the previous seasons, you've used kind of a variety of rifles. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I've always worked with Husqvarna Long Range Optics, and our parent company is Best of the West Rifles, which is a custom long range rifle built in Cody, Wyoming, down in the United States. And it's just a fantastic product. The rifle as well as the scope. So I've always been a 300 Win Mag guy through and through. I've used that since I was, 14 years old. And that's always been my go-to. Still have, half a dozen of them in my gun cabinet. But this year, I wanted to try something different. And it's not because hunting isn't challenging. It's incredibly challenging. But I wanted to make it harder. And I wanted to, teach myself something new. And I resorted to our muzzleloader. Best of the West is, over the last 24 months, has come out with a long range muzzleloader. And I think you guys are familiar with it. You were saying there that one of your competitions, one of the best of the West, was actually in there, and I think it fared well. And you can touch on that here shortly. Yeah. But that was kind of what it was for me. Just something new. I always love to learn, love to grow, and I love to develop. So that was really, in a nutshell, what it boiled down to. And hey, let's be honest, there is a business side to it. We don't have a lot of footage with our muzzleloaders, and they're a fantastic product. So we need to get more. You're going to see Best of the West, that show, use them a little bit more this year. And you're going to see my show, The Rifleman, use it a lot more this year. That's
really exciting. I mean, we always jump at the bit anytime we can when somebody uses a muzzleloader. I mean, whether it's a modern muzzleloader or a traditional muzzleloader, they don't get a whole lot of press, especially right now. I mean, 300 Win Mag is the big one, and the Creedmoor 6.5 Creedmoor is really big on all the precision competitions. So it's really exciting to see muzzleloading coming onto cable TV like it is with your show.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other angle of it too. I mean, Jim Shockey used to be the guy, with Thompson Center, and he doesn't do it as much anymore. And, this year he's probably not going to do any of it, and that's fine. I mean, each to their own. However, there's really, like you said, there's not a lot or really any muzzle loading TV shows anymore. And that's not right. There should be. So I'm a young guy, and we touched on younger people getting into hunting. And I like to think here in Canada anyway, I mean, this is the first year that I've been in the United States, so we'll have to, gauge that as we move forward. But I like to think that I've got a lot of younger people into hunting. So while I'm at it, why not try and get them into muzzleloading? Why not try and get them into long range shooting, archery? I don't do archery personally, but like I said, if you're not learning new tricks, you're not growing. And I just think that, younger people should really consider muzzleloading and, the heritage of it, the history of it. And really, it grows your hunting opportunities. There are some seasons up here that are just muzzleloading. It extends my season by 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And with our Best of the West muzzleloaders, they get out there to 500, 600, 700 yards. I just shot a bear about a month ago, I guess, at 489 yards with a muzzleloader.
Wow.
I just shot a wild boar at 403 yards months ago with a muzzleloader. So it really, it just boils down to practice. And like I said, familiarizing yourself with something new.
So on the Best of the West rifles, are those all 50s just to be kind of legal everywhere, or do you guys go down to the 45s?
45s. They're, for the most part, they're 45s. We are going to be launching a 50 very, very soon. But for right now, it's 45s.
That's exciting. I mean, it's been an interesting year for it. I mean, going into last hunting season, I saw a little bit of it, but especially coming out of the SHOT Show and things. And then just online as we go into this year's, fall hunting season, there's been a lot more long range precision muzzleloading coming out. And I think it's just really exciting. I mean, CVA's got theirs. You guys have yours coming out. Last week we had Luke Horak on from Arrowhead Rifles. And, with the competition that we have coming up this weekend, it's really neat to see guys getting those out and getting ready for hunting season by participating in some matches and things. I mean, it's not what they normally do. I mean, like you said there, you pick up a couple weeks of extra season when you pick up a muzzleloader, and that's why a lot of guys get into muzzleloading. I think on the hunting side is they want a little extra time, and the modern muzzleloaders, it's not too difficult to get into. You don't have all the cleaning that you do with something traditional, and it's really opening up the sport.
Agreed. No, I couldn't agree more. And hey, I can't get down to any of your matches this year, but tell me all about it. What do you guys got going on this weekend? Just let me live vicariously through you, because I would totally be there if I could.
Well, thanks. It's something that we've kind of had going on in the background, and it kind of came out you talked to Rod a little bit from the NMLRA, and wanted to do more of this match, and we got involved and started promoting it a little bit. And I went down to film the one that we did in May, and that one was a variety of course of fire. There was a silhouette round, and we kind of split up the shooters into 2 rounds. So in the morning, you either shot paper or you shot silhouettes. In the afternoon, you switched, and the paper went out to 200 yards. So the guys with kind of the baseline had something to do. It's really hard for them to reach out really past 3 accurately, with a $200 inline or so.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But then we had a course of fire that on our silhouette line, I think went from 3 out to 500, which is our range goes out to 500, and, you know, a set of 5 silhouettes each relay with that. And it was neat. I mean, I joke around with people a lot that a lot of these guns are, I call them race guns, and listeners have heard me say that before, but you know, you're still depending on the loading from the muzzle, and, you know, you're using powder pellets, and either you're using a sabot or, you know, just that straight bullet that those guys are working on now. And it's really neat just to see what they're able to do with that. I mean, you have the limitations of it being a muzzleloader, but walking up and down that line filming, I mean, you would hardly know the difference. And you know, a lot of traditionalists might not necessarily agree with that, but it's neat to see those guys getting into it. And one of the people on the line, actually, he developed a flintlock bullet gun so he could compete, you know, and it was one of the fastest flintlocks I've ever seen. And he really gave those guys a run for their money. I mean, I think right out to about 400 yards. And I think at 5 is where he started to have some trouble.
No, for sure. Most people were probably running into trouble at 5.
Yeah.
For sure.
But for the one we're putting on this weekend here in July, this will probably come out a little after, but so if you're listening to this, you can check out the video. I'll be down there filming, but we started reaching out to several of the manufacturers and things, and sparked up some interest with it. So we've got $3,000 in prizes to put out on the table now. So we can really start making it kind of a true competition and see what these guys are made of. So
that's fantastic.
We've shifted just kind of based on feedback. We've pulled out the paper for this round, and it could come in later, but for a lot of guys, the reactive targets, the silhouettes are really what people want to be shooting. And we're happy to oblige that. As the side match, we've launched kind of this Apex Hunter course of fire where we don't really know, we're not releasing what it's going to be as far as the match is, but you don't get any siders, you don't get a spotter, and you just got to know your gun and your gear and gauge the distance as the best you would, just like you would out in the field. You know, if you're sitting out in the mountains or something and an elk comes out, you know, you just got to trust your gut and trust your gear to go do
Reality. Yep.
And so we're excited about that. There's a lot of guys around here getting ready for hunting season, and, you know, people are starting to get their tags for some Western hunting. So we're just kind of giving people a chance to get their gear out, have some fun, and see what they can do. We have a local guy around our range, Jeff Fisk. He makes the Be Still Creations custom rifles. And it was really neat in May there at our last one, because I would hazard a guess that half a dozen or so people were shooting his guns that he had built. And it was really neat to see him on the line, because, I mean, he was shooting, you know, in the competition against everybody, but in between shots or in between relays, he'd be helping those people with his guns that he had brought them, you know, and everybody was kind of joking that he was shooting against his own guns that day. And he came out on top, which was really neat, you know, just, he makes a few, I think probably 6 or 10 a year in his shop, you know, and he's going up against guys who are shooting all the time and shooting the best stuff out there. So it's fun seeing that camaraderie in muzzleloading. And I think a lot of people think it's slow or it's boring, but I think, you know, when you kind of get into that, you get to know a lot of other people because of that slow rate of fire and kind of the process behind it that makes it really neat.
And personable.
Yeah. And not to pass over it, Jason Day there was shooting one of the Best of the West rifles with the Huskama optics, and it was cool. He was showing some guys there that, you know, usually shoot some small Benchmade custom stuff, and I think he had a few people talked into it. And I think if I wasn't coming home to my wife, I think I would have probably put one on order too. Seeing that double turret, man, that is slick.
Fair enough. Yeah, they are slick, to say the least. And anybody who's interested to learn more, I encourage you, reach out to me or Best of the West or Huskama themselves. No problem. But, hey, I just want to digress. That is super cool. The guy that built all these guns is out there and visiting and socializing and building relationships with all those other people that are shooting the gun. And you know what? To me, I don't care if it's muzzle loading or rifle hunting or archery hunting. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Friends, family, and good times. And I really realized that this year, exactly what you're talking about, having the guy that builds the guns out there with you. So John Porter, and anybody who, is familiar with sheep hunting or the Best of the West or whatever knows John Porter. I might be biased, but probably the best shot, one of the best shots for sure in North America. and he builds he's a big part of the Best of the West company, one of the owners actually.
Yeah.
And a big part in building, our systems and verifying our systems and making sure that they're where they need to be. And I knew John before, not well, but I knew him. And this year, I had the privilege of having him up here in Canada, not once, but twice, on a bear hunt, on a whitetail hunt. And yeah, I got to say, like you said, when you're out there, you're shooting a gun that, this guy essentially built. And, the Husqvarna scopes, really, he designed our turret system. He designed it. And you're out there hunting with the person that has designed the system you're using, that built the rifle that you're using. And it's super cool. And again, hunting, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Family, friends, and good times in the field.
So what are some of the things that you must have when you're going on a hunt? I mean, you do a lot of hunting, both filming and non-filming. What are some of the things that you look for, some of the things that you'd recommend people, especially young hunters, get interested in or start researching? I
try not to really push too much. I always just say, get out there and try it yourself. Mm-hmm. There's only one way to learn. It's a blast. Go out there, do your thing, do it your way. Don't let anyone else tell you how to do it. Don't let anyone else tell you right. Don't let anyone else tell you wrong. Go, do it, and give it a try. You'll be glad you did, and you'll have a blast. Not to mention, anytime you're in the outdoors, with Mother Nature and on planet Earth here, you're going to learn a lot about, Mother Nature. You're also going to learn a lot about yourself. So you really can't go wrong, and there's really no excuse to giving it a try. And that's kind of always, my advice. Everyone's got their style of hunting. Everyone's got how they want to do it or how they think you should do it. And honestly, for me, yeah, I'm on TV. Yeah, I'm a pretty good hunter. Really, I'm just an average hunter that's very fortunate to do what I do. But I think that's my biggest thing, just getting people out there. And like you said, you touched on it, you hit the nail on the head. I love getting new hunters, young, old, whatever, and youth hunters into hunting and giving them opportunities that, I was fortunate enough to have as a kid. You were fortunate enough to have as a kid, but not everyone's fortunate enough to be able to go and do it. Lots of people want to, they just can't. And for me, that's kind of what I try to do. As many people as I can, I'll take hunting every single time. And I think, as television hosts, a lot of people kind of lose sight of that. We're not celebrities. We're not big time Brad Pitts or anything like that. We're just everyday average hunters who put ourselves on TV or work with companies that put us on TV. And, so I'm kind of rambling on here. But in a nutshell, I just love getting people into hunting and taking them into hunting opportunities. But to answer your question, what gear do I need? Well, I don't really have any. I'm very superstitious. Like I said, I'm a hockey player, or was a hockey player, so I'm very superstitious. So I got to wear the same hat. Like that's number one. I got to have my hat on, and it's it's superstitious. If I don't have my hat on, I'm just not going to kill anything. And I think everybody's got their own little superstition. That's mine. But on a serious note, I'm a rifle hunter. Never been into archery. I got ADD as bad as the next guy. I can't sit still for 13, 14 hours in a blind. I just can't. I want to go. I want to walk. I'll walk 30, 40, 50 clicks, no problem. But I got to be moving. I got to be reading the sign. I got to be chasing the game or waiting for the game. Now, of course, a lot of hunting is patience. Mm-hmm. And that's obvious. But I really, really like to be on the move. Any chance that I get, I'm going to be walking spot and stock over sitting in the blind over a bait.
Well, I think you're still young too. I think a lot of people would argue you can still keep up with that.
That's right. No, for sure. When I'm 65, it might be a different story.
Yeah. When you're going out and you're hunting, say you're going out and you're filming for an episode, what does that process look like? How much planning goes in? How many people are going out with you? Walk us through that a little bit.
It really depends on what you're hunting. Here in Canada, if I'm by my hometown or around where I'm from, we'll always go back at night. And everybody's always got questions about the camera and the filming. So I'll dive more into that. It can be challenging. If you go, like I said, that tar hunt, we had the luxury of going back anytime we wanted to the resort or whatever, lodge, I guess. But the one night we did say, hey, we're going to rough it. We're going to stay up here. Like we're all the way at the top, the tar right over the ridge. We're just going to stay here, which is totally the right call. It came up aces for us the next day. But from a camera perspective, you got the camera guy looking at you there. And I guess in that case, it was camera girl. She's like, I only have 2 batteries. One's dead and this one's at like 30%. So you got to kind of, manage that. And it's hunting. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
And honestly, camera and that stuff, batteries especially, it's not even so much the camera like that you'll see on TV. Like, it's all edited and it's all made look pretty. We actually, we don't go out there and shoot something in 22.5 minutes. I can tell you that. We might make it look that way, but I can promise it's a lot more than that. But the batteries and all the technicalities of it really don't care, what you're doing or if plans change. Batteries just die. Stuff gets cold. Stuff gets dropped in the snow. It's reality. And it honestly is different. I don't know that I wouldn't like hunting. Now, in the beginning, the cameraman, and I'm just going to say this, and I apologize if I can't, but the cameraman's a pain in the ass is what it is. Because you're out there trying to hunt and get the job done, and you got this guy following you around. So in the beginning, we used to take a camera guy and a sound guy. And I've cut that back. I only take a camera guy. And in post editing, we'll deal with the sound man. And if you look at a lot of hunting shows, the sound's always the biggest complaint for viewers, and that's fair. But put on our cap for a bit. Do I really want to carry one or two more guys through a field stalking a whitetail buck, when I could have two or I could have four just to have a little bit better sound quality? Probably not. You guys would probably rather me actually tip that deer over, do the trophy hero shot, talk about the hunt, et cetera, which everyone's come to expect out of these hunting shows. So there's totally a different angle. Like I said, I cut the sound guy. I just bring one camera guy anywhere I go. Doesn't matter if it's a hog hunt or a bull elk hunt. One guy, that's all I take. Some guys take two, and good for them. Most of those hunts, and I mean, you guys see it a lot more in the States, a lot more of those blind hunts, sitting waiting for turkey, sitting waiting for whitetail. Yeah, you could probably throw 3-4 guys in the blind. But what I'm doing, mountain hunts or prairie hunts where we're walking 30 clicks a day, spot and stock, mule deer, whitetail, elk, whatever it might be, it makes it a lot more challenging. So, yeah, I mean, it's just different, but you kind of grow to it. And like I said, I've been doing it now for going on 5 years, and I love it. It's just a part of the adventure now. And like I said earlier, I'm shooting the muzzleloader for a challenge. As if hunting's not hard enough to begin with. Well, I want to shoot the muzzleloader. Well, hey, I want to bring a camera guy with me. I want to film the adventure. It makes it more difficult. But when you can actually sit back and look at it and not even watch the episodes, but watch the memories, be it me or my sister or my cousin, my little cousin's first year, whatever it might be, you've got those on film forever. And yeah, it's more, like I said, more challenging, but it is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, I think the technology, I think in a lot of respects there, the way you're talking about, it's kind of like Mother Nature, it doesn't care where you're at on the hunt, it's going to dump some snow or it's going to dump some rain on you. And I think the cameras in a way are a little bit like that too.
Yep, 100%.
Blessing and a curse.
The elk and the deer don't care if you're out of shape or hungover. They're still going to run away.
That's good. I've got to remember that. There's some guys I can razz with that here this fall.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome to take the cameras and obviously, I guess you call it what it is. It is my job, but I do enjoy it. And like I said, it's just different, just a different style of hunting. But hey, Mother Nature doesn't care. And reality doesn't care. So you gotta plan. And there's, you asked how much preparation goes into it. Honestly, like not as much as you would think. I'm not in the business of bullshitting. There's some times where we'll put a whole bunch of plans in place. And again, Mother Nature and reality just don't care and they don't work. And there's other times where we don't put any plans in place and it turns out perfect. So we're somewhere in the middle. Like, I like to, and if you watch my show, you'll see it's very real. Everybody can relate to it. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that's fair, but it's very real. Everybody's like, okay, wait till hunting. Yeah, I've seen that. Or, they got busted. Or, they made a great shot. Or everyone can relate to it. I don't try to make it something it's not. And that's, I think, my second season there, I think I probably tried to script it a little too much. Put a lot of that preparation work into it. And it just kind of, nobody else will probably notice it, but I noticed it and it seemed a little bit fake. So I got away from that in a good sense and, go out there, let life happen, and hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
That's right. Totally.
So, with where are you at right now with the current season of filming? We're heading towards the fall. So are you, we're halfway through the year. Are you halfway through the year or are you almost done and you're looking towards next season now?
So hunting shows are always kind of behind. So like we'll film in 2019 where we actually send to air in 2020. So I changed that up a little bit, and I could be wrong. I just put it on Instagram post like an hour ago claiming that I was the first, and I'm probably not. Somebody's probably going to tell me I'm wrong, but I think I'm the first host. We're the first show, Best of the West Rifleman, to actually air episodes only in Canada. We're not doing it in the United States yet, but we will next year. We're airing them within 1 month when we film them. Wow. So one of the biggest knocks for partners and sponsors was, okay, I need to cut you a check for XYZ at SHOT Show in January of 2020, but I don't actually see any of that ROI until 2021 because your show doesn't air until 2021. Like, we're in a world now with social media, everything's at your fingertips. Like, that's unacceptable. And it is. And you know what? We as, a lot of the Hunt Teacher hosts will probably get mad at me for saying this, but we need to adapt. We need to get better, and we need to get stuff, to air. Now, airing a hunt live, that's something we've looked at doing here in Canada. It probably wouldn't really be that. It probably wouldn't be viewed. I mean, you might go 22 minutes and see nothing. Yeah. And some people would appreciate that, but for the most part, those people want to be captivated and entertained for that half an hour show. And I keep saying 22 and a half minutes because 30-minute show actually with the commercials ends up being 22 and a half minutes of content. So continuing on here, I mean, yeah, it's how do I say, I guess? Well, I kind of lost my train of thought. Okay. You can cut this out, right?
Oh yeah. You're good.
Oh geez. Okay. Where was I at? Sorry. I'm rambling on here.
You were talking about, airing just a couple weeks after you had it filmed.
Okay. Sorry. Geez. I was just checking out this speaker here because I realized it broke off the wall. And
you're fine. You're fine.
So I'll probably apologize. So yeah, we're actually airing episodes within a month of when we film them this year, and we promised our sponsors 3 out of the 13 that we do air. Each season has 13 episodes, and yeah, it's something that's different. No one else, as far as I know, and somebody please correct me on Instagram at Walsh92 if I'm wrong. But I just think you see the industry growing in that capacity. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of black powder guys, because they're not on broadcast television, guys are going out right. Black powder hunting or muzzleloader hunting, too. They're going out on the weekends and then they're publishing a video on YouTube that week, and it's.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Social media, like I said, it's at your fingertips. Like people want it now, or an Instagram live or whatever it might be. So, from a network television perspective, like I said, we filmed 2020 for the most part, like 99% of shows film 2020, what airs in 2021. And we're trying to change that game. But, I've kind of gone on a rant here, but to answer your question, I'm done 4 episodes right now. So I still have, 9 to go.
Okay.
So we're not even anywhere near half, which is fine.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I was fortunate enough up here in Alberta. Kind of how I usually do it is I'll do my local Canadian hunts through the fall, as everyone would here in North America, whitetail, elk, moose, you name it. And then we'll do our broad hunts kind of in March or April. So usually at this time we're about half done. We are behind, but that's, just due to COVID. But, I was very fortunate and the people that I keep company with were very fortunate to draw some really good tags up here in Alberta. So we're going to be just fine on episodes. It's just going to be a really, really, really busy fall for us.
Well, cool. Are you heading down south here to America any for your fall hunts, or you're sticking up north?
I would love to. I consider America like a second home. I kid you not. I would move there tomorrow if I could. No joke. I've always wanted to live in the States since I was like knee tall to a grasshopper.
It is the best.
But oh yeah, it is the best country on the planet. Many Canadians listening will be pissed that I say that, but it is what it is. So yeah, I would love to come down there. I've hunted down there a handful of times, mostly in Montana, Wyoming. But this year, I just don't know if it's going to work out, Ethan. I really hope so, but I probably would say it won't.
Yeah. No, I understand. I just, it's all up in the air. Like we talked about kind of at the beginning here, there's been a lot of changes and we just got to roll with the punches.
100%. So yeah, that's probably a live look into every person, be it an outfitter or a guy that had a sheep hunt booked up here in Canada, or, I guess a TV host in my circumstance, probably how everyone's looking at it.
Yeah.
It's just day by day, and we'll see where the chips fall. I know I was supposed to go, actually I was going to run camera for a sheep hunt out in BC guy from Minnesota was going to fly up, shoots one of our best of the West in Huskimaws. And I was going to go and film that and maybe do a goat myself. But obviously with our lovely Canadian government, who I don't even want to talk about, closing the border for another 30 days, he's not able to come anymore. So it's just brutal.
Yeah. A lot of changes. Well, we're here at the kind of the 50-minute mark on my ticker here, and that's kind of when we start to close things out. So anything else that you want to touch on, if you want to talk more about the Best of the West rifles or the Huskama optics there, I mean, you've got the mic here for that. You know, I mean, I always ask people to share where people can find you online, your social media handles. I mean, obviously for you, you might kind of shout out where and how people can watch your show and catch up on episodes they may have missed. But, you know, we've got, 9-10 minutes here, and I just kind of look at closing it out here and getting us both on our way.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. Yeah. So, I mean, the Huskama, I've been a shooter of the Huskama scope system for, over half my life, actually. When I, first started hunting, my family was just Huskama. And honestly, that was just because of the simplicity of the system. There's lots of, turret systems out there. There's lots of long range shooting systems out there. And they're all fantastic. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But I have to be biased, and I have to say that our Huskama system is one of, if not the best. Guys are going to have their opinion, but factually, I would say, you know what? Night Force is right there with us, and everybody else is just a little bit behind. You want to say Night Force is as good or better? There's a conversation maybe to be had there. I'll argue, of course, but there's a conversation. Anyone else, I don't even want to have the conversation. So we were always Huskama just because of the simplicity of their system, and because our turrets are actually laser etched in yards instead of MOA. So as soon as I range, let's say it's 700 yards, I just dial to that 7. I don't have to do any calculations. I don't have to look at any sticker on the barrel on the stock of my gun, nothing. 701, I dial to that 7. I let drive, it's done the compensation for me. It works every single time. As long as it's verified and the data on it is shot properly, which it needs to be, it'll work every single time. So my family really bought into that, and we've had a lot of success. Before I was on TV, before it was this or that, and it was always Huskama. So then when I first got the show, the first call I made was the Huskama, and Jack Peterson, one of the owners, picks up the phone, and for whatever reason, he was silly enough to sponsor some young punk from Canada. And ever since then, now we're here 5 years, and I handle all of the Canadian importing of the optics now. I handle all our Canadian business through my distribution company up here in Canada. And yeah, it's just a fantastic relationship. But I mean, everybody's got their own opinion, and that's awesome. And I think, you gotta shoot what you believe in. But for me, it was always Huskama. And yeah, you know what? Now I do get paid to say that, but I've been using them a lot longer, and then I've been getting paid to say that.
Yeah. Jason was telling us about that at the last shoot, because I don't know that many of our shooters have seen the Best of the West or the Huskama optics. And Jason was saying something along the lines of, if you change the configuration of your rifle, or you change the load that you're using, or something, I can't quite recall, but you can send in your turret and they will calculate a new turret for you, so that it's always matched up based on something to do with your rifle. Can you explain that a little bit more? Or is that often left field?
Yeah, totally. I'll be entirely, and you'll learn this about me, I'm the most honest and transparent guy out there. I can't speak to it as much on the muzzle loading side of things. I'm sure it's the same, but just more, I'm still familiarizing myself with all that stuff here as we navigate through this season. But on the rifle side of things, yeah, I mean, if you want to go and shoot your data, so what we do is we'll take the gun, let's say any gun, let's just say you shoot 300 Win Mag and it's a Browning A-bolt. Okay, we'll take that gun, we'll put our Huskama scope on it, and we'll take it and we'll shoot it at 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, 400 yards, all the way out to 1,100 yards. And we'll record all that data. At 700, at 500 yards, my 300 Win Mag drops 39.3 inches with my Hornady LDX 200 grain bullets. And we record all that data. Basically, we send that off. We verify what temperature it was shot at. We verify the elevation it was shot at. And we send that off, and then we burn the turret. Now, you'll see other companies, and, I won't mention names, and they work. Don't get me wrong. Apps or other companies in the United States that just will take an average. So they'll look at 100, 300 Win Mags that shot XYZ data. They'll average it out. And I could call them right now and say, hey, look, I shoot a 300 Win Mag and I want to turret out to 800 yards for Hornady LDX 200 grain ammo. They'll average those 100 guns. They'll burn the turret and they'll ship me the turret in the mail. I'll have the turret in a week. And you know what? Out to 500-600, that turret probably accurate enough. I'm not going to lie. But you start going, 550, 650, 7, 8, 9, 1,000. That turret's not going to hold its own whatsoever. So we actually verify the data out to 1,200 yards. And every single gun that we burn a turret for, somebody in our team has shot, verified, recorded. We burn the turret to that gun. No average. No, we had Bo's gun last week and Joe's gun the week before. We'll just meet in the middle and that should be good. None of that. It's all to a T. And that's why it works so well. That's the only way it works so well. So what he's talking about is, for me, for example, my 300 Win Mag, I shoot the Hornady LDX 200 grain bullet. If I want to switch and go to a 180 grain, my turret's not going to be, it's going to be fine. I mean, it's going to work, but to keep where we're at in the industry and keep our image and our success the way that it is the Husqvarna brand, we would have to reshoot that data, burn a new turret, and put it on our gun. Or on the flip side of that, not quite as complicated. If I want to go, I'm a prairie boy, where I hunt's usually about 1,500 feet elevation. And for the most part, that's pretty, it's fine. You can go on a mountain hunt. Like when I shot my tar, we were, much higher than that. But it didn't make a huge difference. But it makes a difference. So what guys will do, and we've actually come out with, we call it the double stack turret system. So you can go full revolution, 360 degrees on your first turret out to 800-900 yards, by 300 to 800 yards. And then you can actually slide the turret up and go a full revolution out to, say, 1,400 or 1,500 yards. Or you could have that second turret, when you slide your turret up, be for a different elevation or be for a different temperature. Yeah. And it's just really, so what he's talking about is just how precise we are with our system. And that's why it's so effective and so accurate. And you know what? There's other people in the industry that are doing it just the same way, but they are far and few between.
Fascinating. I'm kind of a tech nerd, so I love shooting tech. That just gets me going.
No, fair enough.
So, in closing here, we've been talking here for about an hour. If somebody's looking to hear more from you or catch the show or follow you online, where's the best place to send them to get started with that?
I always throw everyone to my Instagram. You know what? If you're feeling generous enough to follow along, it's at Walsh92 on Instagram. And my air times in the United States are Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, and Saturday, our anchor slot is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. And hey, I'm all about feedback. Somebody watches the show or hears this podcast, loves it, hates it, tell me. At Walsh92 on Instagram, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. Ethan, thank you so much for having me on, my friend. It's been awesome working with you here through 2020, and I'm looking forward to many more conversations like this to come.
Me too, Jordan. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening. We're really excited about having Jordan on. It was great to meet him at the SHOT Show, and it's great to see him continuing the tradition of muzzleloader hunting and sharing it with a new generation. The Muzzle Blast podcast is brought to you by the members of the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. We couldn't do anything here at the NMLRA without the support of our members. I mean, something as simple as the podcast, even up to our wonderful traditional craft classes or our national shooting sports events. None of that is possible without the membership of the NMLRA. And if you're not a member, please check out NMLRA.org and consider joining. Even if you're unable to travel, especially during COVID-19, to several of our in-person matches and shoots and events, we also publish a monthly magazine, Muzzle Blast Magazine, and that goes along with the podcast, the video, the online articles that we're bringing to you. It just delivers it to you in a nice, beautiful publication each month, just sent to your doorstep. So be sure to check that out. If you're not already a member, please consider joining. It starts at $35 a year, and your support allows us to keep doing this, keep sharing muzzleloading, keep sharing history and traditional craft. Thank you. We touched on it a little bit here talking with Jordan, but we're all itching to kind of get out there this fall. I know I'm looking to get out a little bit more than I normally would for some whitetail season here. If you've been unable to pick up your supplies because of events and shows getting canceled, I know like even something as simple as the gun shows all across the country have just been shelved this year. So if you're looking to pick up some items, be sure to check out the link in the description below to nmlra.org/shopsmall. That's going to give you a list of the NMLRA vendors and business members that are, in many cases, little mom and pop shops that have been supporting this sport and the hobby for decades. I've grown up knowing many of them, and really they're just an extension of my own family. Anytime that I need something, I mean, at a shoot, I'm driving to a shoot. Hey, you know, this broke. I need some of these. I can stop by their home or their shop on the way, pick it up, and get right on my way. So please be sure to check out nmlra.org/shopsmall for all your muzzleloading and living history supplies.